All right, while visiting Maine, I decided to stop in. I had heard that there was a new game store in the Bangor Mall. Now, I worked for several years. I worked for several years in a game store back in the 90s, and then I worked for several years at the Bangor Mall in several stores, video store, toy store, and a bookstore. Uh, and malls even in the late 90s and early 2000s were dying as a means of shopping, I think. And I think as time has gone on, for very good reasons, many malls have died and continue to die. And only, I think, in some of the largest venues are they going to be able to maintain and continue. That's a whole other discussion. But I think that it was an experiment that it was a failure. An experiment of trying to artificially create an old-style downtown environment. But of course, like so many things, the corporations came in. Instead of being local businesses, it's all corporate run. The money is all funneled out of various states into corporate entities, and they don't reinvest. And so eventually you have nothing but crappy clothing stores and empty storefronts, because that's the end result. Anyhow, the company that was running the mall when I worked there, they were an absolute nightmare. They have since left, and someone else is managing that mall. And that person, whoever they are, that group, whoever they are, seems to actually want to do something with it. So they are reaching out to businesses. They are getting in a variety of unique businesses and services and such. There's even a tattoo parlor. And they're trying to, I think, resuscitate the mall and make it maybe a little bit more about what it originally tried to promise. Because when I went to that mall as a child in the late 70s and early 80s, it was kind of a wonderland. There were fountains and plants and trees, and it was really cool. And each shop was extremely unique. There was a cookie shop that had, like, I think a brick exterior, and it had this real, like, downtowny vibe. There was a tobacco shop that, as much as I don't like smoking, always smelled really good. It was like the pipe tobacco that always had this really rich smell that came out into the like the cookies. That was very cool. All that's to say, there is now a collectible and game store in the mall, a locally sort of owned. It's out of Portland, but still it's Maine owned. A shop. It looks like probably 60-40 on the collectible side. A lot of collectibles, signed baseball cards and that kind of thing. Pokemon, Magic, blah, blah. And but then probably about 40% games. Board games, family board games, that sort of thing, and RPGs. And unlike so many game stores that do dip their dip their toes into tabletop RPGs, it was not just Dungeons and Dragons and or Pathfinder. It was actually a variety of stuff. He had quite a nice mix of materials. So if you're in the Bangor area and looking for a game store and you want to pick up something other than just D&D, he also had D&D, but if you want to pick up something else, check him out. It's not the classic game store. Excuse me. Let's have a little bit more of this G&T. It's not a classic game store where you go in and try the games out. I mean, this is a mall store. You go in, you buy your product, and you leave. It's not it's not one where you can sample the wares. But that said, there's still a value in that kind of shop. The guy, who I believe was the owner who was running it, was quite friendly and knowledgeable and helpful. I picked up a game, because you should when you go to shops, especially independently owned ones. I got Destroyer of Worlds. This is part of the Alien RPG. I love the Alien RPG. I've been really enjoying it. I have not looked too deeply into some of the expansions. I believe that this is part of a larger campaign that they have released. I believe, again, that the scenario in the starter box, which I do have, and I believe I've got a video on it, that scenario leads in either to this one or to the other box set, and perhaps the other box set then leads into this one. But don't quote me on that. Here's the back. I'm not going to read all of it, but if you want to pause and read what it says, that is some very small print on that second half. It is not a standalone game. It's Free League. It's got a nice quality box. Maybe not as thick as some that they have, but it's nice and quality. Silicate. We have some more cards. I'm not going to open these up right now, but you know, the game does use cards for certain things, including like other people's agendas and I believe equipment, that kind of thing. So there's some more cards to go with the ones from the another silicate thing from the starter box. We have another map here. This is, I'm gonna guess space station or a facility. Anyhow, it might be on the ground. I'm not gonna show the whole thing here because I don't want to. But I love the look of that. Is this a city or is this actually just the complex? This looks like a whole city, so that's very cool. You know, I don't know what this scenario is about, and I'm not going to read it because there is a chance that I will get a chance to play it at some point. So I'm not going to read it right now. I'm going to see if I, in fact, do get a chance to play it. Some more smaller maps. We have a mission, handout to Mason. Oh, okay, so a specific character gets something. Cool. We have some characters, pre-made character sheets. These, well, the first couple look like they're Marines, but then after that there might be some other options. It does look like it's heavy on the Marine side of things. And I know the first book that came out was Colonial Marines, the first of their 3 proposed big segments of the game. I don't know how to say what I'm saying, but the Colonial Marine book came out anyway, which I also have a copy of in a video on somewhere, I think. So here's the Destroyer of Worlds. It's the usual design, for better or worse. I know that many people have trouble reading the light text on the dark background. It doesn't bother me, but I do understand how it can be bothersome to some. And who knows, as I get older, my eyes are already pretty whacked, that maybe it will bother me more than it does at this time. Anyhow, not a ton of art. There's the usual with the Alien. It's got the background art on some of the pages and a lot of like black star fields, that kind of thing. Generally, I like the design of the Alien thing. It's, you know, dynamic without being messy. Obviously, I always want more art than what's there, but I understand it doesn't always work out that way. So yeah, I'm not going to deep dive into that because I'm going to hold off on looking at that. Now, my thought is if I get a chance to play it, then at some point in the future, perhaps I will also get a chance to run it. As I have really been impressed with the Alien RPG, and at some point, I very much want to run it. So, Destroyer of Worlds, picked up at, I don't think I said the name of it. I believe it's called Maniacs Collectibles, or Maniac Collectibles, and that's spelled Maine, M-A-I-N-E-X. So, I believe that's the name of the store at the Bangor Mall. So if you are in the Bangor area, stop in, check it out, pick up a game. It's pretty cool. And obviously check out the Alien RPG. Anyway, if you like my little blah blah about this sort of thing, again, that's on you. But check out my Patreon below. Look at my author page for Amazon. I've got some short stories on there and, you know, that kind of thing. All right, until next time, take care.